At 82, I've made a lot of hard decisions, but there's one decision I deeply regret: moving to a smaller home. At the time, it seemed like the right choice. My family even encouraged it, promising that I'd have less to worry about, that it'd be a simpler, easier way to live out my years. I believed them. I trusted that downsizing would bring me peace, that letting go of my big house would free me from burdens I didn't need anymore. But once I got there and looked around at the tiny space, I realized the reality was nothing like what I had imagined. It wasn't freedom. It was a trap I didn't see coming. I know many of you might be thinking about this option, whether for yourself or a loved one. Maybe you feel like it's the safest decision, the practical one, or maybe you've been told it'll make life easier, that it's the natural next step as you age. I get it. I've been there. But before you take that leap, before you sign the papers and start packing, I want to share 6 things I wish someone had told me before I moved in. Because the truth is, life in a smaller home isn't just about convenience or square footage. It changes everything. And once you're in, once you've let go of what you had, getting it back isn't as simple as you think. Stay with me until the end, because some of these lessons might surprise you. And if you know someone considering a smaller home, maybe a parent, a grandparent, or a friend, this video might be exactly what they need to hear before making a life-changing decision they can't undo. Now let's get started. My biggest shock after moving to a smaller home wasn't the tight kitchen or the single bathroom. It was losing the memories. Moving meant leaving behind a home filled with decades of family moments, birthdays, holidays, even quiet evenings, that a smaller place can't replicate. I spent 50 years in that big house. It wasn't perfect. Leaky roof sometimes, creaky stairs always, but it was mine. Every room had a story. The living room where my daughter took her first steps, the kitchen where my wife and I burned a turkey one Thanksgiving, the backyard where my son hit his first baseball, shattering a window I pretended to be mad about. Those moments weren't just things that happened. They were the heartbeat of that house. When I decided to downsize, I thought I was just letting go of extra space. I didn't realize I was letting go of all that too. The first night in my smaller home, I sat on a stiff new couch. I closed my eyes and tried to picture my old dining room, packed with family, the clatter of plates, the hum of voices, but all I got was silence. I went to bed that night in a room that didn't feel like mine, and when I woke up, I reached for the little table where I used to keep my coffee mug and my newspaper, except it wasn't there. I'd left it behind. I'd left so much behind. Weeks turned into months, and I kept waiting to feel settled, to feel like this new place could hold me the way the old one did. It never happened. I'd walk past the tiny closet where I'd stuffed half my life and think about the attic back home, full of boxes I hadn't opened in years but couldn't bear to toss. My grandkids' drawings, my wife's old sewing machine, letters we wrote each other when I was overseas. In the big house, I could keep them close, even if I didn't look at them every day. Here, I had to choose what to keep and what to lose, and every choice felt like cutting away a piece of myself. I remember one afternoon sitting in that little living room, trying to tell my grandson a story about the time we built a treehouse in the old yard. He asked, "Where's the yard now, Grandpa?" I didn't know how to answer. It's gone, I guess, and with it, a part of me I can't get back. The hardest part is knowing that once you give up those memories, once you walk away from the place that holds them, they start to fade. You can't just visit them again. You can't walk into that kitchen and smell the bread your wife baked or hear the echo of your kids running down the hall. They're locked in a house you don't live in anymore. And this smaller place, it's got no room for them. If you're considering a smaller home, ask yourself, are you ready to give up the memories that make you who you are? Because once they're gone, you'll miss them more than you ever thought possible. I didn't see it coming, and I wish someone had warned me. My second regret hit me harder than I expected. I thought a smaller home would be liberating, but it's suffocating. No room for my old hobbies, no spare corner for grandkids to play. It's like my world shrank along with the square footage. Back in my big house, I had space to breathe. A garage where I'd spend hours tinkering with old radios. A garden out back where I'd plant tomatoes every spring. It wasn't just stuff to do, it was freedom. Freedom to move, to create, to be me. When my family said, "You don't need all that space anymore," I thought they might be right. Less to clean, less to fix. Sounds good, doesn't it? So I packed it up, sold the house, moved into this little place. On my first day here, I looked around for a spot to set up my trains, but no chance. The living room's barely big enough for a chair and a TV. I thought about the garden. There's no yard, just a concrete slab outside the door. I tried to keep busy, maybe read a book or fix something small, but there's no workbench, no corner to spread out. I felt like a bird with clipped wings. Then the grandkids came over. In the old house, they'd tear through the halls, play hide and seek, build forts out of blankets. But here, they sat on the floor staring at me, asking why there's no room to run. I didn't have an answer. It's not just the hobbies or the kids, it's the little things. In my big house, I could pace when I was restless, stretch out on a couch that fit me, sit in silence in a room all my own. Now every move feels cramped. I bump into walls, trip over boxes I can't unpack because there's nowhere to put them. I used to wake up and decide my day. Maybe I'd paint the shed, maybe I'd just sit on the porch with a coffee. Here the day decides for me. There's nothing to paint, no porch to sit on. I thought less space would mean less hassle, but it's the opposite. It's less life. I met a neighbor once, an old guy like me, who'd also moved to a smaller home. He used to fish, had a whole room for his gear. Now he just sits in his little apartment, staring out a window that looks at a parking lot. I thought it'd be easier, he told me, but I don't know what to do with myself anymore. That's when it hit me. Freedom isn't just about what you don't have to do. It's about what you can. And in a smaller home, you can't do much. If you're thinking about a smaller home, ask yourself, are you prepared to lose the freedom that space gives you? Because once it's gone, you'll feel the walls closing in and there's no opening them back up. Regret 3 still stings every day. My previous house was where everyone gathered for Thanksgiving dinners, game nights. But now, in a smaller home, I can't fit them all comfortably, and I feel disconnected from the family I spent years bringing together. That big house was the heart of us. Every November, I'd pull out the extra chairs, set up a table that stretched from the dining room into the hall. My daughter would bring her pies, my son would carve the turkey, the grandkids would run wild until they crashed on the couch. Game nights were chaos, cards scattered, laughter loud enough to wake the neighbors. Even the quiet nights mattered. My sister dropping by with coffee, us sitting in the kitchen talking about nothing. It wasn't just a house, it was where we came together. When I moved, I thought I'd still have that. They'll visit, I told myself. We'll make it work. First holiday in the smaller home crushed that hope. I've got a table for 4, no room for more. I invited everyone, but my daughter said, "Dad, there's no space. We'll do it at my place." I sat alone that Thanksgiving, eating a plate she dropped off, staring at a TV that didn't drown out the quiet. Game nights? Forget it. I tried once. 6 of us squeezed around, elbows knocking, no room for the board. The kids left early, said it wasn't the same. They're right. My sister came by once, but there's no kitchen table to sit at, just a counter with one stool. She stood the whole time, then stopped coming. I didn't realize how much that house held us together until it was gone. My family still loves me, I know that, but they're busy. School, work, their own lives. When I was in the big house, they had a reason to show up. Now I'm out of the way and it's easier to skip the visit. I called my son once, asked if he'd bring the kids over. "It's tight there, Dad," he said. "Maybe next time." Next time never comes. Holidays are the worst. Everyone promises they'll stop by, but plans change. And I'm left watching other families through the window, wondering when I stopped being the center. I saw it in another guy here too. He'd hosted barbecues for years. Big backyard, grill going all summer. Now he's in a place like mine. No yard, no grill. "They don't visit anymore," he told me. "Guess I'm not worth the trip." That's when it sank in. A smaller home doesn't just shrink your space, it shrinks your world, and the people in it drift away. If you're considering a smaller home, ask yourself, are you ready to lose the gatherings that keep your family close? Because once you can't host them, you'll feel the distance grow, and it's a loneliness you can't fix. Regret 4 was a slow burn that still aches. I had to part with furniture, keepsakes, even clothes I wasn't ready to let go of. A smaller home forces tough choices, and I regret losing things that still meant something to me. In my previous house, I had room for it all. A basement full of boxes, my wife's old recipe cards, my dad's tools, letters from friends I'd lost touch with, an attic with trunks of baby clothes, my son's baseball trophies, a quilt my mom made. The living room had my recliner, worn but perfect, and a bookshelf packed with novels I'd read a dozen times. I didn't think about it much. Those things were just there, part of the fabric of home. When I decided to downsize, my kids said, "You don't need all that stuff, Dad." I figured they were right. How much could I miss it? Moving day was a nightmare. The recliner wouldn't fit through the door. Sold it to a neighbor for $20. The bookshelf? Too big. Gave it away. I stood there watching my life get whittled down, telling myself it was fine. But when I got to the smaller place, I realized what I'd done. I'd kept one box of photos, but the rest, hundreds of memories, went to storage I can't afford to keep. My wife's rocking chair, where she'd sung to the kids, got donated. I tried to hang on to a few shirts she'd loved me in, but the closet's half the size. No room. Now I live with bare walls and empty corners. I'll reach for something, a book, a tool, and remember it's gone. I wanted to show my grandson a model plane we'd built together, but it's in a box somewhere, or maybe the trash. I can't even check. The worst was last month. I found an old letter from my wife tucked in a drawer, and it hit me. Most of her words are lost now, scattered because I couldn't keep them close. In the bigger house, I had space to hold on to my past. Here, I'm forced to let it go, and every loss feels like a betrayal of what we built. I talked to a lady down the hall who'd downsized too. She'd had a piano, played it every day for 30 years. No room for it now. I didn't think I'd miss it this much, she said, tears in her eyes. That's the kicker. You don't know what matters until it's gone. If you're thinking about a smaller home, ask yourself, are you prepared to lose the things that tell your story? Because once they're out the door, you'll feel the weight of every goodbye. If you're still watching this video and finding these insights valuable, please comment number 4 below to let me know you're here. And if you haven't subscribed yet, I recommend you subscribe and turn on the bell so you don't miss any videos. Your support helps me keep going. Now let's move forward. Regret 5 crept in slow and heavy. A big house had its creaks and echoes, life in the noise. The smaller place is too still, too empty, and it makes me feel more alone than I expected. Even at 82, that big house was alive. Floorboards groaned when I walked. The furnace rumbled in winter. Wind whistled through the eaves. I'd hear my wife humming in the next room, the kids banging doors, the dog scratching at the back porch. It wasn't quiet, and I loved it that way. It meant something was happening. Someone was there. When I moved, I thought I'd enjoy the peace. No more fixing squeaky hinges, no more patching drafts, just calm. But the calm turned into something else. First night here, I lay in bed, waiting for the familiar sounds. Nothing. No creaks, no wind, no life. Just a hum from the fridge down the hall. I got up, walked the 5 steps to the living room, smallest walk of my life, and sat there listening to the silence. It wasn't peaceful. It was loud in its own way, screaming at me that I was alone. In the big house, I'd hear the world moving. Birds in the morning, neighbors mowing lawns. Here it's me and 4 walls, and the stillness presses in. The grandkids used to fill that old place with noise, shouting, laughing, fighting over toys. Now when they visit, it's quick and quiet. No room to play, no chaos to make. They leave, and the silence rushes back, thicker than before. I tried the TV once, left it on all day just to hear voices, but it's not the same. I met a guy here who feels it too. Used to live in a house full of kids. Now he's in a 1-bedroom like mine. It's too quiet to sleep, he said. I get it. At 82, I thought I'd want rest. Turns out I need life around me, and this smaller place can't give it. If you're considering a smaller home, ask yourself, are you ready for the quiet to take over? Because when the noise of life fades, the loneliness hits harder than you think, and it's a sound you can't turn off. Regret 6 was the final blow. I thought moving would simplify life, fewer chores, lower bills, but the stress of adjusting, the cost of the move, and the emotional toll outweighed the benefits. I traded one set of problems for another. I bought the pitch hard. My kids said, Dad, you're 82. Why deal with a big house? Less to clean, less to pay, less to fix. Made sense. The roof back home needed work, the yard was a chore, bills piled up. I pictured a smaller place as a fresh start, cozy, cheap, easy. So I sold, packed, moved. Cost me thousands just to get here. Movers, fees, new furniture that'd fit. I thought I'd save money long term. I was wrong. First month, I had to redo the bathroom. Too small for my bad knees. Cost more than I'd saved. The heating's weak, so I'm cold half the time. And fixing it's on me. No more yard work, sure. But now I've got neighbors complaining about noise I don't even make. And a landlord who doesn't care. I thought I'd have less stress, but adjusting's a beast. I can't find anything. Half my stuff's in the storage I can't get to. The other half's crammed in corners. I wake up tired, not from chores, but from wrestling with this place every day. The emotional toll's the worst. I'd sit in my old house, even on bad days, and feel grounded. Here I'm restless, out of place. I thought I'd feel lighter. Turns out I feel lost. My daughter noticed it once, said, "You don't seem happy, Dad." She's right, but I can't tell her I regret it. She'd feel guilty for pushing me. I met a woman here who downsized too, thought it'd fix her finances. "I'm broke and miserable now," she said. That's it. The benefits don't outweigh the cost when the cost is your peace. If you're considering a smaller home, ask yourself, are you sure this will solve what you hope? Because once you're in, the problems don't vanish. They shift, and they might weigh more than what you left behind. Looking back, I don't regret growing older, but I do regret believing a smaller home was my only option. I walked in expecting simplicity, freedom, a better quality of life. What I found was a world that took away my memories, my space, my family, my peace. Does that mean smaller homes are all bad? Not necessarily. Some folks need the change, make it work. But before you decide, think hard about what you're giving up. Once you move, life's never the same. If I could do it over, I'd have fought to stay in my big house, found ways to manage it, hired help, cut costs, anything but this. If you're facing this choice, I hope you ask, is this truly best for me, or just what seems easiest right now? Because the life you have today, your rooms, your freedom, your past, is worth holding on to as long as you can. Thanks for joining me. Leave a comment below. Share one thing you learned and how you'll use it. Your thoughts matter to me. Reading them keeps me going. If this helped, like, subscribe, and share. Your support lets me keep making content to inform and inspire you. See you next time.